Is it cold out there? I am grossly unprepared for Chicago weather. But I do have to say, I had to get out of Panama Beach because Todd is fucking annoying. Whew. I'm losing myself. But I'm here, back in Chicago, to tell some bedtime stories. So let's get to it. Welcome to another edition of Violent but True Bedtime Stories with me, the First Sergeant. This story is one from the lore books of the Green Monster. It's a very special story of heroism, violence, and overwhelming odds. It is also a very unique story in that it's the very first time I've told a story of the same character in a different conflict. Who am I talking about? Louis motherfucking Puller. Hello, Chesty, my good friend. This story begins on November 26, 1950. The US, along with UN forces, were knuckles deep in the Korean War. The Chinese had unexpectedly entered the war a month earlier, crossing the Yalu River and pushing the UN forces on their heels and into a full retreat. What the Chinese did not know was that one battle-hardened ball smasher had landed on the beaches of Incheon and was ready to stomp some ass. It was only a few years earlier. Chesty had routed the Imperial Japanese Army as he and his legions of soul takers pillaged across the Pacific Islands that were thought to be impenetrable. He was salivating for a much stronger opponent. Chesty's thirst was about to be quenched. The 1st Marine Division and elements of the 3rd and 7th Infantry Divisions found themselves in the most shitty of situations. Blunted by the PLA's 9th Army Group, an estimated combat size of 150,000 men, they had been forced to withdraw from their advances toward the Chinese border. But to make matters worse, they were cut off from their withdrawal from a flanking attack to the south. It was mortal combat at Ya Dang Ni and Hagraruri. How the f*** can I be talking about Chesty without my f***ing cigar? Well, arranging a react force of 900 men, Puller sent off support to the Kragmar forces to the north. They would take the only route available, which had become dubbed Hellfire Valley. They would come from the firebase located at Kotori. A combination of tanks and trucks broke the lines between Kotori and Hagaruri. Nearly half the forces were lost, but the route was opened. Unbeknownst to Puller and his men, the area around the reservoir was swarming with PLA forces. In fact, 10 divisions were now converging on the area, and Puller was getting a taste of the old recognizable shit sandwich. The Marines at Udam Ni were successful in holding off the communist hordes. The nightly waves of Chinese attacks were no match for the Marine rifle teams. Although the Marines would make it back to Kotori, they would lose half of their force. But not without destroying 4 enemy divisions. Meanwhile, the army was not doing so well at Hagaruri. They had lost their commander and most of their men. Puller would link up with the remainder of the forces and lead them to attack in a different direction, as they would fight their way to the small village of Hungnam. Puller would stay behind with elements of the 1st Marine Division to cover the withdrawal of the 10th Corps. They would fight in negative 30-degree conditions. Tired, unmanned, without resources, and picking up equipment and fallen brothers along the way. He and his Marines would allow for the evacuation of over 4,500 wounded and dead men. Heading back to the coast to crack some beers, Puller would employ the use of bounding artillery, Marine and Air Force air support, and ruthless raiding parties that would render 3 additional PLA divisions combat ineffective. Puller was a fucking war machine. In total, Puller and the Marines of the 10th Corps would have destroyed 7 Chinese divisions of the 9th Army Group. Estimated losses of nearly 30,000 men killed and 50,000 wounded. From September 2nd to December 10th, Chesty would be awarded a Silver Star, his 2nd Legion of Merit, a Distinguished Service Cross from the Army, and his 5th Navy Cross. In January of 1951, this ice-cold silver bullet would be promoted to the rank of Brigadier General. Now, if you ask nicely, maybe I'll tell you about his savagery in the land of Nicaragua. Buenas noches, Señor Puller.